Total physical responses. Total physical responses, or TPR, is a language teaching method built around the coordination of speech and action. It attempts to teach language through physical activity. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, I hope we are all in good condition. Welcome to Teaching Method and Classroom Management class. I am Reza Pustika, M.Pd, the lecturer for Teaching Method and Classroom Management subject. Before we go further to today's topic of discussion, you'd better know that this subject is related to classroom management, including the selection of approach, method, and technique applied in learning process, as well as the whole organization of the class in each session. Further, it covers pre, while, and post-teaching activity in learning process. Having taken this subject, students will have knowledge about teaching method and class management. By taking this subject, students are expected to be able to explain brief history of language teaching and all teaching methods and classroom management. Explain the concept and example of communicative approach and demonstrate classroom management through micro-teaching. To be more specific, by watching this learning video, you are expected to be able to understand one of teaching methods, which is total physical responses. The source for this learning video is taken from Richard, 2014. The title is Approaches and Methods in Language Teaching. Total physical responses. Total physical responses, or TPR, is a language teaching method built around the coordination of speech and action. It attempts to teach language through physical activity. Developed by James Asher, a professor of psychology at San Jose State University, California, it draws on several traditions, including developmental psychology, learning theory, and humanistic pedagogy, as well as on language teaching procedures. Total physical response is linked to the trace theory of memory in psychology, which holds that the more often or the more intensively a memory connection is traced, the stronger the memory association will be and the more likely it will be recalled. Retracing can be done variably, for example by rote repetition and or in association with a motor activity. Combine tracing activities such as verbal rehearsal accompanied by motor activity, hence increase the probability of successful recall. In a developmental sense, Asher sees successful adult second language learning as a parallel process to child first language acquisition. He claims that speech directed to young children consists primarily of commands, which children respond to physically before they begin to produce verbal responses. Usher feels adult should recapitulate the processes by which children acquire their mother tongue. Usher shares with the School of Humanistic Psychology a concern for the role of affective or emotional factors in language learning, a method that is undemanding in terms of linguistic production and that involves game-like movement, reduces learners' stress, and create a positive mood in the learners, which facilitate learning. Usher's emphasis on developing comprehension skills before the learner is thought to speak links him to a movement in foreign language teaching, sometimes referred to as the comprehension approach. Winitz, 1981. This refers to several different comprehension-based language teaching proposals, which share the belief that a. Comprehension abilities precede productive skills in learning a language. B. The teaching of speaking delayed until comprehension skills are established. C. Skills acquired through listening transfer to other skills. D. Teaching should emphasize meaning rather than form. And E. Teaching should minimize learners' stress. Usher sees language as being composed of abstractions and non-abstractions, with non-abstractions being most specifically represented by concrete noun and imperative verbs. He believes that learners can acquire a detailed cognitive map as well as the grammatical structure of a language without recourse to abstractions. Abstraction should be delayed until students have internalized a detailed cognitive map of the target language. Abstractions are not necessary for people to decode the grammatical structures of language. Once students have internalized the code, abstractions can be introduced and explained in the target language. Usher, 1977. Usher has elaborated an account of what he feels facilitates or inhibits foreign language learning. For this dimension of his learning theory, he draws on three rather influential learning hypotheses. First, there exists a specific innate bioprogram for language learning, again innate, which defines as an optional path for first and second language development. Usher's total physical response is a natural method. Second language teaching and learning should reflect the naturalistic processes of first language learning. Usher sees three processes as central. Children develop listening competence before they develop the ability to speak. At the early stages of first language acquisition, they can understand complex utterances that they cannot spontaneously produce or imitate. Children's ability in listening comprehension is acquired because children are required to respond physically to spoken language in the form of parental comments. Once a foundation in listening comprehension has been established, speech evolves naturally and effortlessly out of it. Second, brain lateralization defines different learning function in the left and right brain hemispheres. Others interpret this as demonstrating that the brain is divided into hemispheres according to function, with language activity centralized in the right hemisphere. Drawing on work by John Piaget, author holds that the child language learner acquires language through motor movement, a right hemisphere activity. Right hemisphere activities must occur before the left hemisphere can process language for production. Stress, an affective filter, intervenes between the act of learning and what is so it to be learned. The lower the stress, the greater the learning. An important condition for successful language learning is the absence of stress. The general objectives of total physical response are to teach oral proficiency at the beginning level. Comprehension is a means to an end, and the ultimate aim is to teach basic speaking skills. A total physical responses course aims to produce learners who are capable of an uninhibited communication that is intelligible to a native speaker. Unlike methods that operate from a grammar-based or structural view of the core elements of language, total physical responses requires initial attention to meaning rather than to the form of items. Grammar is thus taught inductively. Grammatical features and vocabulary items are selected not according to their frequency of need or use in target language situations, but according to the situation in which they can be used in the classroom and the ease with which they can be learned. Imperative drills are the major classroom activity in total physical responses. Learners in total physical responses have the primary roles of listener and performer. They listen attentively and respond physically to commands given by the teacher. Learners are required to respond both individually and collectively. Learners have little influence over the content of learning, since content is determined by the teacher, who must follow the imperative-based format for lessons. Learners monitor and evaluate their own progress. The teacher plays an active and direct role in total physical response. It is the teacher who decides what to teach, who models and presents the new materials, and who selects supporting materials for classroom use. The teacher is encouraged to be well prepared and well organized so that the lessons flows smoothly. There is generally no basic text in a total physical responses course. For absolute beginners, lessons may not require the use of materials, since the teacher's voice, actions, and gestures may be a sufficient basis for classroom activity. Well guys, as you have come to the end of this learning video, I want to summarize our discussion to you. Total Physical Response, or TPR, is a language teaching method built around the coordination of speech and action. Total Physical Response is linked to the trace theory of memory in psychology, which holds that the more often or the more intensively a memory connection is traced, the stronger the memory association will be and the more likely it will be recalled. Usher draws on three rather than influential learning hypotheses. There exists a specific innate bioprogram for language learning, which defines an optimal path for first and second language development. Brain lateralization defines different learning function in the left and right brain hemispheres. Stress intervenes between the act of learning and what is to be learned. The lower the stress, the greater the learning. Well guys, that covers what I want to share with you in this learning video. For your own teaching practice later, I recommend you to read more on the works of experts. You will surely get inspiration from them. For your own reflection and to check your understanding, please kindly check your Spada. There you can find post-tests to check your understanding about this topic. If you want to have further discussion under this topic, do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you so much to watch this video until it ends. Don't forget to like all videos in Kuliah Teknokrat channel and subscribe it. It will surely help your college study. I'm Reza Pustika signing out. Thank you and goodbye.
Terima kasih sudah menyaksikan video pembelajaran ini. Jangan lupa like, komen dan subscribe, serta nyalakan tanda loncengnya agar kalian tidak ketinggalan informasi update lainnya.